Hello, our people, and welcome to the Girl Boy Games podcast, where I am your host, Melly Pentala, and he is your host, Lucas Leander, aka the Bearded Panda. I am also melthemaneater, and we discuss all things gaming with the occasional, not yet occurring guest that will happen sometime. Eventually. If you want to get more of our content, or more short form content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girl Boy Games. And today we are talking about the tears. The tears of the kingdom. If you could not tell, I got very festive with my Zelda.
She grew really long ears.
I grew really long ears for this moment.
I'm gonna grow into a goat man, so I can be the Zora or whatever the hell he's called.
The goat man. So today we are talking about Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which released today.
And we stayed up late.
Yes.
We played about 4 or 5 hours of it.
Yeah, so we're not super far.
Yeah, this isn't a review.
No. We have not played like 70 to 80 hours of the game or anything. We've only played like 5 hours of the game. So this is just our first impressions and how we feel about the game so far. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Asus ROG Ally update. And we're going to talk about how me and Lucas saved a baby duck. But that will be for at the end of a little surprise story.
Baby duck.
Let's get right into it.
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Off the rip. First impressions. What are your first impressions off the rip?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Definitely, I got, from after the saxophone trailer, my expectations for this game went from, here to, and so, and after that I started to get more hype, but even playing the game now, it blew all my expectations out of the water.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I'm not the biggest fan of open worlds.
Or even a sandbox games.
Yeah,
Actually, no, you do.
I like sandbox games. I played the crap out of Minecraft.
I'll backpedal. I'll backpedal.
Love sandbox games.
Yeah.
And it's not that I dislike open worlds. I just don't have a lot of experience with open world gaming. And so for me, sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming. And so I was a little worried going into this, but so far it's been keeping me active enough and doing enough little tasks and stuff like that. And not tedious, I don't want to do this task. I don't want to make it seem like this game is all go here and do this, go here and pick up this. No, it's very fun. It's very engaging.
Yeah.
And we're only 5 hours in, and so I can only imagine that it's just going to keep getting better and better.
So for me, this game, the intro is so everything about the beginning of this game. I know Breath of the Wild was a great game, right? You wake up, you're out in this big world, whatever. But the intro to this game,
it's so good.
Absolutely destroys the I love when a game has a good intro.
Yeah.
God of War Ragnarok's intro, incredible, insane. It is cool to have that just more calm, but oh my god opening. Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild, where it's just wow. But
this game just throws you
into it, and I guess that's what sequels, these sequels, God of War Ragnarok sequel, this is sequel. But before I get into that, I want to talk about just where we come from with Zelda.
Yes.
And so for me, I am not a big Zelda guy. I've never been a huge Zelda guy, even though I always wanted to get into Zelda. I tried playing Ocarina of Time, and it's an old game. It's an old game, and I was not in a period in my life where I was looking to play an old game. Though I will say, for what I played, it was entertaining. And then I can't remember what this game's called. It's a Zelda DS one. It's Spirit Tracks.
I was gonna look that up.
Yeah, look that up for me real quick, because that game, guys, I've seen tier lists saying that's the worst Zelda game, or it's one of the bottom ones. That game was so confusing. It made me feel dumb as bricks as a kid, because you have the sail, which takes forever, across to all these random islands, and then basically
Was
you do
it-
one thing and you have to check all the islands again. And I never beat that game because it was so confusing. And maybe I'm just dumb, or maybe I'm not persistent enough, or whatever it is. But I did not. Yeah. Did you find it? It's not Ocarina of Time.
Was it the Phantom Hourglass?
Yes, the Phantom Hourglass. I hate that game. I never want to play that game again. It's the game that made me like, about Zelda.
Funny enough, I was now that I'm thinking about it, I think Phantom Hourglass was also one of my bigger intros into it, and it was also what kind of put me off on Zelda the first time, because when Phantom Hourglass came out and was popular, that was when around the time that me and you would have started playing games like that. We were like 10 maybe?
Or something, yeah, something like that.
When did Phantom Hourglass come
the thing is, a lot of people start off with Ocarina of Time. Billy, he loves Majora's Mask, and honestly, guys, our first guest will probably be Billy on like a full-on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review. I'm sure that will probably be when he joins in, so look out for that. But yes, there's so many good Zelda games to start with. Skyward Sword, there's so many great ones that people have good memories of, and somehow we ended up
with the worst one. You know why? It came out in 2007.
That's the perfect time.
That was the perfect time that like kids start maturing enough that they can play games that actually require like work, and that was when we were 7 or 8. And so now that you're saying that, I was always wondering, I was like, what Zelda game did, and like I feel like no one talks about the Zelda game that I played when I was younger. It's because it kind of sucked.
It sucked. Oh man, like I would replay it just to make a video on it, but like no, I would probably maul it. It would.
Which is why I feel like there's definitely a weird gap of like, now it's all coming together, because I feel like a lot of people our age, I notice a lot of the big Zelda fans are either older than us, or like so much younger that they had like
they're basically like Breath of the Wild, and maybe like the one before that,
Link's Awakening, maybe Link to the Past, that kind of stuff, or like for the 3DS.
Yeah, the one that they remade. Yeah. And so they didn't, because when we were kids, it's like, oh, what game should I get my kid? Zelda, that's a popular one. Oh, this is the one for the DS that they already have. Here you go. And so I think we just kind of got the short end of the stick with our first Zelda game. Yeah.
Being our introduction to Zelda games.
And I would say that you guys should know that, because a lot of people like Billy, right? And there's a lot of people in general, they like that the old Zelda games are much more about like the dungeons. Obviously the puzzles are important, and like the fighting can be important for some of the Zeldas, like Skyward Sword and stuff. So for us, the dungeons, while they are important, and while we did enjoy the Zeldas that we did play, and the dungeons were entertaining, it wasn't like the whole game sucks if there's no dungeons. And I know a lot of people that is definitely huge for them. Yeah. And so with Breath of the Wild, going into that fresh and basically not really being a Zelda fan, that game was amazing. It was so good. I had my issues with it. Weapon breaking. I felt like the beast. I did not like. I did not like.
That's actually because I also played Breath of the Wild after. I'd played a couple, like, and when I say a couple, I mean like bits and pieces of like Twilight Princess, or Ocarina of Time, or things like that. But I hadn't really played much after frickin' Phantom Hourglass. And so I went into Breath of the Wild, but I was also not super into gaming at that point, but I was super excited for this game to come out. And the second I got to what are those things called again? I'm not losing words.
The beast. I don't know, this celestial beast. I forget what they're called.
Great, I made you forget.
Yeah. The tailed beast. We'll call him tailed beast. The
tailed beast, the elephant.
They do like tailed beast.
Divine beast?
Divine beast. Divine. Celestially divine.
Oh my gosh. I think it was the divine beast.
Yeah.
So when I got to the first one, it was the elephant, and I just got overwhelmed and gave up. That is where I stopped playing that game. And, I went and I adventured and I was having a good time, but I just was not in gaming, like, into the gaming space enough to fully even understand what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I just got confused and overwhelmed, and I felt like I was bad at games, and so that's where I gave up.
And I think that's the thing, is because that is the best and worst thing about that game, is, like, it's made that way. It's made is for you not to just do everyone to have the same route. And,
Yeah.
like, they have things that progress you in a certain way so that there is a logical way to complete the game if you do the logical way, but you don't have to do the logical way.
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want.
If you're Max Million, dude, you run right at Ganon and you fucking kill Ganon within the span of 5-10 hours, right?
Yeah.
Like, insanity, right? But this game did have its issues. I don't think it was the greatest game of all time. It's not in my top 10 of all time.
Me neither.
And so, but I love the ending. It also joins the ranks of games I feel like are so much better because of their DLC. Like,
yes,
Dark Souls 3, so much better because of DLC. Bloodborne, so much better because of DLC. There's just games out there that it's sad because people don't get to experience it, but like, when you play the DLC is like almost a sequel. It's so good. And I love the trials. You know I am with game trials.
He loves game trials.
I love the Master Sword trials, and I loved like the getting the motorcycle bike. That like DLC, so good. But so that's our history with it.
Yeah.
Now you guys know like our expectations going.
Also, I played before to get hyped for the game. I started playing I got it. So when did because I have the lovely Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED because I was so excited for this game. And that came out on April 28th. Mm-hmm. So it's only been like 2 weeks, and I've been playing the crap out of Link's Awakening, and that has been so fun. I love that game. It looks great on the OLED screen. Yeah. It's just fun and silly, but like also still kind of challenging. And because it's a remake, some of these dungeons
insane
are kind of freaking hard. Or like things that I guess I'm also, it's been a long time since I've played a Zelda dungeon, so my brain was just not clicking with some of these weird puzzles, or things that I would even think to like push this random block out of all these other blocks that you wouldn't even think to push, and then that's how you get out of this area. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And so, but I've been enjoying it regardless. I love like the art style, and I think it's really cute. I love all the like Mario references. Oh yeah, and all that stuff.
It's such a cool that it's like such a mixture of like other
Nintendo
IPs and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, like having like there's like a chain chomp in front of someone's house, and like Mario is kind of in the game as an NPC. Yeah, I think it's a great game, and it's definitely been getting me hyped for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes, and hyped we were, because while, like, my expectations going into the game, at first, like we just said, I wasn't that hyped, then the trailer got me very hyped, and then going into it with seeing just a little bit of the impressions, I stayed pretty blackout on the game, but with seeing some impressions, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot like the original one, but, like, just, like, bigger and better, right?
Yes.
And so, there was one thing I was hoping they were going to do that they didn't do, but I had tempered my expectations, so I'm not really all that disappointed, and I don't feel like it needs this. I just wanted the combat itself to be just a little bit more involved, but I think because of the nature of things, of how you can handle so many situations, they don't want you to be powerful, like, in combat in a very advanced way, because they want you to use your brain to think about, I can explode this, build this thing does this. So they don't want you to be... So it's not really... It wouldn't necessarily work that well with the game in the first place. So I'm not disappointed that the combat hasn't evolved all that much. And
I think I really like what they've done with the bow and arrows.
Yes.
Where you can, like, attach different things onto it instead of having to create, like...
Or find.
Oh my god, Do you remember the one part of Breath of the Wild where you had to go find all these, like, electric arrows?
Yeah, I knew you remembered electric arrows, yeah.
That was leading up to the elephant, like, divine beast. I hated that shit. I hate that shit.
I hate that shit.
I hate it. It was the war. Because I remember where oh my gosh, it's all coming back to me now. I'm getting PTSD. Yeah. Okay, so all of these electric arrows were on top of this mountain where, like, this crazy boss that was super hard to defeat was, like, that everyone freaked out about.
Was it the Lionel?
I don't know.
Lion man, or he has like a lion head with like a horse body or whatever.
I think that was him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was up on the mountain, and everyone was like, oh yeah, just fight him and then get the arrows. And I'm like, okay. And I also, again, I wasn't as into gaming at the time, so I say this dude, I'm like, I tried to piece him up like one time, and I got pieced up so bad. And so I'm just like going around trying to get my like 17 billion electricity arrows that they want me to get, just like crawling like... Just a crumb. Can I have a crumb of electricity arrows, please?
I like that because it was like that fear. Like you had two options. Either you bulk the fuck up and you go insane mode and you kill this thing.
I think I can do that now.
You just like.
That's what I did.
And I think most people like. He was so fucking hard. And
he got like towards the beginning of the game.
Yes.
And so you're like not even close to, unless you have mad skills.
Yeah.
Like you're not even close to being able to defeat him. And I think I could, buck the fuck up now, but then I was like, 16, 17, and not as into gaming, and so that was just like, okay, this is giving me anxiety, I'm gonna put this down.
But now
you can combine things with arrows, and I think that is way better.
This game, last night, we opened this game up. Actually, we don't open this game up because, 9 o'clock, we're like,
oh yeah, it hits 9 o'clock, instantly press the button, we're gonna open it.
Instantly press the button. What happens? Gotta check the time zone to see if you actually play it. All good, 9 o'clock, let's play it. You can't play the game.
We freaked out.
Our brains exploded because we were like, is it an actual midnight release? Oh wait, is Nintendo one of those weird developers that makes you wait until like 9 a.m. the next day?
We saw something online that was like something about 9 a.m. the next day. We're like, what?
Whoever was trying to troll us, fuck you. Whoever was trying to troll us.
We had like the 2 minutes. Okay, at the end we were able to play the game, but for the 2 minutes that we could not play the game because it wasn't like the eShop or whatever it wasn't loading and being like, oh, you can open the game you downloaded now, because we didn't get hard copy. We just got it off the eShop.
Yeah.
And we were like, do we need to go to GameStop? Like, do we need to run? Do we need
to drive
to GameStop?
Here's the thing. We were going through all the stages of grief. It was like disbelief, denial, anger, then like
depression.
Then you had like the false hope, but I skipped that just right into the depression. I'm just like, no, we're gonna have to wait until 9 a.m. I skipped like 12 o'clock. I was like, nope, 9 a.m. tomorrow. We're so fucked today. And then I was like, wait, let me look at these articles a little closer. And I saw multiple articles. I was like, no, it should be at like 9 p.m. And then I realized it was like 9:02. And I was like, I swear in the past, like,
it just takes
a second, And so I was like, I clicked on it. And I was like, it just takes a second. Click on it, opens. And then we were like, ah! So then we get in.
Yeah.
And the intro to that game.
Oh, man.
The intro to that game, man. It's fucking insane, man. It is crazy. It's making turning me Jamaican. That game's so good. That's how good Tears of the Kingdom is. Like the I don't know. It's so ominous. It was so dark, and then you're actually getting story. That was huge.
But we're not going to spoil any of the story.
We're not going to spoil any of the story, except for the fact
that
Ganon's now a dragon. No, I'm just saying stuff. We're not spoiling anything.
Ganon is actually Glanon.
He's actually Glanon now. He's changed his name.
Yeah. He's actually...
And he has a wife now.
Matt Ganon Mercer.
But no, the beginning of the game, so cool. It's so ominous. You're going through these like ruins and stuff. It's just like the beginning you want, where it's like hype. You're curious, like what's going on.
Yes,
but to give you story,
throws you into it.
Yeah, it throws you right into the story. That is something that I like. All of the Zelda games have between. They have some sort of story that's like either it's like quirky,
but how
or
involved
super
it is like
But in Breath of the Wild, it didn't have like it basically didn't have a story. It had a story, but it was almost like. You know how Elden Ring has a story, but if you don't look for it, you don't know what the fuck you're doing?
Yes.
It's like the same thing with Breath of the Wild, except for I felt like done way worse than something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls.
I agree.
And some people may argue against that, whatever. But this game...
when it comes to Zelda story, though, like in comparison to other Zelda stories, Breath of the Wild didn't deliver as much as we would wanted it
Yes.
to, you know? And so it had a story, but in comparison to other Zelda stories that are great, it was like, meh, you know?
Yeah.
It ain't no Twilight Princess.
100%.
And but no, this one I was like, they heard the fans complaining that it didn't have much of a story, and they were like, fine. We're gonna start with the story.
Yes.
We're gonna throw you into the story.
If you're gonna play this game, do not let anyone spoil the beginning of the game for you.
Nope.
Or there's a part
Don't go on TikTok.
Yeah,
go on
don't-
TikTok to follow us at girlboygamesyt on TikTok, where we have funny clips where we won't spoil the game for you. But that's the only thing you should do on TikTok. Don't look at your For You page. Don't look at anything else. Only look at girlboygamesyt on TikTok.
Oh my god. Oh my
No,
god.
because okay, the funny thing
honestly.
is I had the beginning spoiled for me and I didn't realize it. I didn't and so I'm not gonna say what it was.
Yeah.
But I was
You can
like
tell
on
me later.
TikTok, they're like, you know, Tears of the Kingdom fans the morning of the game opening, and then it was
It just shows the opening.
It was part of like the scene from the opening.
Can you imagine
I was
being
like,
that dude being like, I'm just gonna I know the game just came out and there's hella people who go to school.
it was before the game came out.
Or the game hasn't even come out yet, and maybe I found the leaks because there was a bunch of leaks for the game.
I think
found
it was
the
a
leaks.
leak.
I'm just gonna post this without I got it. That stuff does frustrate me.
Because I was thankful that I was I think I was tired enough
You're
and
just like, oh,
not
cool clip.
aware enough that I was like, oh, this is a clip from something.
The trailer or something.
Yeah, maybe. And I had no idea. And then we played the beginning, and I was like, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They put that. I hate it when people do that.
Yeah. So, don't if you want to play this game, don't let the beginning get spoiled for you. And there's a mechanic in about the open world that's on some Elden Ring shit. Do not get spoiled, because I was one of those people. I was like, man, at least when it comes to gameplay, I don't care about spoilers all that much, you know? So, I was watching something and they're like, oh, we're just gonna spoil some gameplay stuff if that's okay. We're alerting you now.
And you're like, okay, that'll be fine.
Cool. They're like, here's the dopest ship ever created, Elden Ring next tier amazing stuff. And my heart, not experiencing that for myself was like, are you fucking kidding me? I did this to myself. So I'm warning you, the 16, 20 people who I appreciate so much who watch this. I'm saving you guys from this. But
so how do you feel about the gameplay mechanics so far? Just you being Link, being able to do what you do.
I think the gameplay mechanics, I like them so far. I've only 5 hours of the game. I like them better than Breath of the Wild.
I agree.
Between the ice block and all these other things that you got in Breath of the Wild, those things were cool. They were creative, being able to stop something and hit it. These were cool things. This stuff feels like a next level, so fun to use, so awesome. Between the time rewind, that's insane. Such a cool mechanic. Then you have
the glue.
The glue, which it really does let you make literally anything can be glued or fused together with your weapon and stuff.
Well, any objects, objects. You can't just look at one. We joked about gluing the Sky Islands.
You just glue and rotate and glue everything.
No more Sky Islands.
Ganon. Just
Let me take all of the Sky Islands.
I made the longest bridge in the game. I made the longest bridge of all time, and I was just thinking, if I just keep making this longer, I can just grab this thing.
And then, if I can weaponize this. The biggest fan ever. He had it was the platforms that they have that you glue together at the beginning, these wooden platforms that you glued together to make bridges, are pretty long. They're probably if you take how tall Link is, it's probably twice his height.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 3. And then he glued together 10 of them.
So funny.
It was
you just
so
rotate it and it's just
and it's just the gigantic. You go anywhere. But
being able to glue things and fuse things.
Yeah, fuse. Oh my, yeah, the fuse mechanic is really. It is definitely seeing these things, especially like okay, before the first trailer, you know, they had like the bit of gameplay that they were showing about the gluing and the fusing and stuff like that. And originally, I thought it was cool, but it wasn't completely sold. And
sold,
now,
man.
now I'm like, in the game, I'm like, and of course, like I have I'm a mechanical engineering student, and so seeing that you can do all this different stuff, I'm like, hey, I'm an engineer.
I'm like, glue the whole world together.
I'm gonna glue
fuse it. Yeah.
Fusion.
You just glued like this.
Shit.
And how you use it, I know some people were saying like it's a little obtuse, and it is a tiny bit, but honestly, I got the hang of it pretty easy, and that's saying something because I don't usually play sandbox games. I like very action heavy games, so like I got the hang of it really easy. Ungluing things, you just like shake the stick, and it's like you're shaking the glue up, like very very simple.
I will say, so
nice.
This is a clip that I saw just now. I showed it to you with the rockets. So everyone knows that there's rockets and stuff. I saw this one guy, and like, you know, of course they had the little god damn it, what's the fish? Koroks, because we call them Tuki Tukis because it's what we call the little
They're basically the Koroks
of Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
And we called them Tuki Tukis, and now, because like they're kind of the same thing, you find them and then it gives you a perk or whatever. I will say the Tuki Tukis here might be better than the ones in Wild Hearts, because these ones actually talk to you.
Nah, I like it was like...
Oh yeah, I do. And they are like a big scavenger hunt, and there's a lot more of them in Wild Hearts. But anyway, we call them Tuki Tukis, but they're Koroks. And I saw this clip. Someone had glued like 9 rockets together, and this Korok, you needed to get him to like his friend or whatever. He had this big old backpack on. He's like, I'm too tired, I can't move.
Yeah.
And like, you can glue the Korok to the rocket because that's how you're supposed to move him. And this poor little thing just got launched.
Boom!
Like, but you can do that. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that this dude was like, I'm gonna glue all these rockets together and send this Korok to his friend, hopefully in the direction of his friend, and it worked. The game wasn't like, no, that's mean. You can do it.
Yeah,
like, and I
awesome.
think that is so cool that they're, and like I was making this one thing, like, you know, that was basically like a rail, and you needed to like, they're kind of like almost like they're like carts that you need to get over, and this one like one part of the track is like missing. So I was like, oh, how do I want to do this? And so I made like a little like ski, like I was like, I could make a very, very basic cart that just has one hook and go through, but I was like, how can I make this interesting? And so I made like a little ski gondola where it was like one cart upside down, a piece of wood, another cart, and then a hook on top of it, so it looks like a ski gondola that you'd find at a ski resort. And I just think that that's so creative, like that you can do so many creative things. There's so many different ways of solving the same problem.
Yes, and that's a big thing in this game is the like, if you can think it, you can probably do it.
Yes.
And I think these tools are just so much better than the Breath of the Wild tools. And I'm barely in the game. That's saying something, because I'm not the type of person just to be like, oh, these are new tools, they're better. Like, no, I genuinely think these tools are more fun than the stuff in Breath of the Wild. And then you add all these new mechanics that you just said. They make the game like insane, right?
Yeah.
Then you add the what's it called? Like the Zotek. I forget what the exact name for them. I wish I could remember. Zonite or something like that.
Zonite. It starts with a Z and it probably ends with a T. That's all we know.
Yeah. So they're basically like a technologically advanced civilization from the past that like fought Ganon 10,000 years ago. All sort of stuff, right? But they have crazy technology. They have the rockets, they got the fans, the flamethrowers, all this sort of stuff. And so you're combining that stuff with like wood and the wheels and all this sort of stuff.
So yeah, that's where you get like your fan, or you get like the rocket that I was talking about. And like, and yeah, you literally just combine them with super basic objects and can create like crazy stuff, you know?
Like if you like, oh, let me grab the flame thing connected to my shield. Now if I pull my shield, flamethrower come out.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Really cool things. You didn't even see this. I grabbed the plane, just fused the plane to my stick.
Wait,
it was
did
like
you
tiny.
fly?
No, I don't even know what it did. It just looked like it was just You can just hit things with it now. I don't
Your
know.
playing stick.
And so that's what I like about the Fusion, is that it solves one of the most annoying things from Breath of the Wild that people complain about, which is the breaking weapon. If there's any consistent complaint with Breath of the Wild, some people don't like that there's not a lot of music in the game. Some people don't like that Breath of the Wild, it wasn't, like, the story wasn't really present. Some people didn't like that the stamina system, right? These are all, like, some people didn't like these things.
Basically everybody.
Most people do not like not even the breaking system, but just how easy things break.
Yes.
In this game, because of fusion, your thing's badly broken. You know what? That rock, boom, you fuse it.
Yeah.
It's fixed and it's more powerful.
Yeah, and it's not even like a crappy weapon or
Yes.
anything like that. And that's what I appreciate. It's not like you put a stick and a rock together and it's like the most busted, like, horrible weapon ever. It's like, it's good. It does what you need it to do. And it definitely solves the whole issue of, like, oh, my sword break. Oh, gotta go get a whole ass other one, you know? And so it's just like, oh, my stick and my rock broke. Oh, there's another stick and there's another rock. Beep.
Yes.
You know, and they're everywhere. It's not like you can only get them in certain parts of the map or something like that. And so that ease of access is definitely nice. And I do like that, you know, it's not just, there's a lot of different combinations that you can do with the things in your inventory and then the things you find on the ground. And, you know, it's not always the same stick and the same rock, and as much as you're like, well, how much variety can you get with freaking sticks and rocks? And it's quite a bit, like, you know?
But the thing is, it isn't just, you know, it can be the advanced materials. You're fusing these things together.
Yeah.
You're fusing all sorts of stuff together, and you can, like, defuse it and then fuse a different thing together. So there's just a lot of cool variety there. But I gotta give props to the team, whatever the team is, the studio that made this game, because their game design, when it came to, I'm just gonna call this Tutorial Island, because that's basically what it was. It was just a tutorial. When you first start the game, you basically go to a tutorial island.
It's like the prairie or but it's
Tutorial Island.
We're gonna we'll call it
it's
Tutorial
Island. Don't let her trick you. It's Tutorial Island because they set up everything. They show you all the mechanics you're gonna start using,
which is really good.
But they do it in such a way that it still feels like you're
just playing the
freely
game.
exploring everything.
Yeah.
You're just playing the game, all sort of stuff. Even though this is just a 4-hour long tutorial, it feels like, first thing, you're just playing the game. Second thing, like, you're almost like you're, even though there are objectives, you're not even following the objectives. You're just exploring.
Yes.
And it's so engaging and fun. And and it sets up for just, like, when you leave the tutorial island, it feels so hype and good. Like, I really just appreciate.
I'm ready.
Yes, everything about the beginning of this game, I really appreciate.
Yeah, no, it did a lot better than with Breath of the Wild. I know there were people that were like, they didn't figure out how to do one, like, you know, they didn't find the shrine or they didn't find the whatever to teach them how to do this one very pivotal mechanic or something like that until, like, halfway through the game.
Yeah.
And it's because it was so open-ended.
Yeah.
But because you do start out on, like, Tutorial Island.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, and I didn't really, you don't realize that it's one big
100%.
tutorial until you think about it. You're like, wow, like, I think this is just like a giant tutorial, except it doesn't suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate tutorials. Like, they're good, and for some games you need them, but once you have played enough games, you're like, I'm just gonna figure it out. And so, when a game forces you to go through a long-ass tutorial, it's like, oh my god, you know, I don't want to do this. But for this game, I'm like, I just feel like I'm playing the game.
Yeah.
I genuinely just feel like I'm having fun playing the game and getting started.
And that's the thing about, like, it done right. Like, you talking about that, it's done so right. God of War Ragnarok, I think, does it right, because you're just in the game and you're just learning, while something like Jedi Survivor, it has, like, a tutorial area, right? Or whatever. And it does feel just like a game. But honestly, I feel like the whole first half of that entire game is a tutorial, because they don't give you very many combat encounters. The platforming is very simple. The beginning of the game, gameplay-wise, not story-wise, is honestly a 7 out of 10, like, okay experience. And then recently, I hit the second half of Jedi Survivor, where you get these crazy like mobility for like wall running and dashing and all this crazy mobility. They're finally throwing hordes of enemies at you that like actually test your combat ability, because now they're like, oh, you finally figured out like which lightsabers you like, and they like paced it out too long so that now the second half of the game feels like such a robust, fun, amazing experience that it really shadows out the first half, and it makes the whole first half feels like a tutorial, right?
Yeah. But this game, it's like, I think it's like the perfect length. It's the perfect, and you can. Here's the thing: you could do this in probably like hour and a half. Like, if you wanted to, you could fly through the first, like, tutorial island. But I, like, you know, the way I'm going into this, because this is really my first open world that I'm, like, committing to being like, I'm gonna finish this whole thing. Yes. I'm gonna try and do every single quest I can. And so from the moment I start, I was like, I'm gonna explore this whole place. I was like, yes. I'm not leaving Tutorial Island until...
She says that, and then Diablo 4 comes out, and our whole lives are ruined.
That is true.
As you're saying.
And so, yeah, I've got until June 2nd. And so I'll try and at least finish the story by June 2nd.
I'm just gonna pace it out, man. I'm just gonna pace it out. Keep going. Sorry.
But anyways... and they give you so many things, like, those Kuroks, and, like, there's already things to find and different places to explore. I've already found, like, different caves and secret passageways, like, in the tutorial. Like, it doesn't feel like a tutorial, but it is. Mm-hmm. And they do it in such a good way. And I just think the beginning of the game is great, and I think it's a perfect setup to, like, okay, now that we've taught you, like, these different things, and you know to like look around the corner and see if there's a hole in the ground, or like you should set those leaves on fire and see what's under the leaf pile or something like that, you know, like they've given you all of that opportunity in this smaller robust island, and I just think that they did a great job, and I think it sets up your, like you were saying, that hype of like, you know, going into Hyrule, and like it's perfect. It's
perfect.
Kiss.
All the details, you can just tell I was hearing rumors like, oh yeah, this game was in such a long production because of like the Switch hardware, and I'm sure that is probably true. That probably is true. If it was more powerful console, it probably could have came out a year or two earlier. But this game honestly wasn't 6 years of time because of just the Switch hardware. It was 6 years of time because they made a true, amazing, next level sequel. That's what they did. It's a big ass game. Breath of the Wild DLC. People were like spouting that. No, the main mechanics are different. The world is so huge. You guys just need to see it. The world is so huge. The story's better.
And it's more dense.
It's more dense.
They managed to make the map bigger and more dense.
Yes.
Than when dense and like what you can do and different things to explore and like being engaged, because that was one of the issues people had with Breath of the Wild. It feels like you could have ran for like 5 million years and like not ran into another soul or something interesting or things to fight or whatever. And with this game, they made it more condensed and somehow bigger.
Well, I wouldn't say that it felt like forever.
No, I know, but like I'm over exaggerating.
Okay. I just, you know how some people with Breath of the Wild, you know how they get. You say something that isn't the normal like weapon breaking, and they're like, "What the fuck you say? What the fuck you say?" I'm like, "Oh, I was just like talking.
I was just talking my shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just let me cook. I'm sorry. I'm burning.
I'm burning.
But yeah, this game, just like how Elden Ring like took over the internet for like 3-4 months, this game will take over the internet for like 5 or 6 months, because
100%.
This game.
I think this game's gonna take over the internet until Final Fantasy 16.
Well,
we'll see.
After that, way after that. Hear me out, because Final Fantasy 16.
That is a bit more of a niche audience.
No, not even that. Not even that. The things you can do and you can show from that game, it's all combat related. Everything's true. Combat related. There'll be some funny moments. This is creativity. Yeah. This is you creating something. Elden Ring, like, yeah, it was like hype moments, but there's also a level of creativity there where it was like different builds, different exploration. Final Fantasy 16 will be more of a linear game. It will be more, the combat experience will be more controlled. It's going to be a more serious game. So that also makes it less clippable, kind of, because people like funny moments on the internet.
That's true.
This game's gonna have creativity. It's gonna have comedy. It's gonna be
beautiful.
It's going to take over the internet this summer. Whole summer.
Your TikTok feed, all Tears of the Kingdom.
All Tears of the Kingdom. All Tears of the Kingdom. And even I already have a clip. Okay, guys. There's this plane thing, right? And so you're supposed to be able to fly on this plane thing. And so I get on. You come off the edge, and you're like, "Oh shit, you're flying!" But you're kind of scared because you're like,
how long does this plane last?
How long does it last? Like, how do I turn this thing? I didn't know how to turn it, and I was like, can I move on this where I immediately fall? So then I'm skirting to the edge. I'm like, oh, it's turning, and it starts turning. It's turning the other way, and even if you go all the way to the edge, it won't flip. You're fine. You're like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, I need to get down there, and this thing's flying too horizontally. I need to go down. So I went to the tip of it to start pointing it down. I was like, okay, cool. Boom. I fall off this thing, and I am freaking out at first. I'm like, whoa, what do I do? What do I do? I'm thinking Breath of the Wild. I don't have a glider.
Yeah,
so I'm I'm going to die. And so then I see the free dive thing, and I'm freaking out pressing the button, so I pull up my bow for a second or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I can dive. And I start diving. I'm like, this is amazing. Greatest game. 11 out of 10. This is amazing. I'm gliding. I can hear the saxophone in the background. At least it's in my head. And I'm going insane. And so you need to land somewhere, right? And I'm like, oh, the water. They set this up perfectly. They know what they're doing. I'm like, I start flying forward and going all fast. I'm like, this is going to be so awesome. I was 3 millimeters from the water. I end up hitting the very edge of the beach.
He hits the edge, the line in between the water and the land, and just it's his head was in the water and his feet landed on the land, and he just and he died.
And that was the greatest moment. Because it was funny, it was hype, it was everything you want from a Tears of the Kingdom moment, all wrapped up in a little bow.
Because he was so close to being epic, and him landing in the water and it being great. And he literally could have just scooted. If he would have just hit the joystick thumbstick up a little
more, just a little bit more,
he would have landed.
Didn't dive as fast. But yeah, this game is going to be literally the most clippable game. We're gonna be clipping. You're gonna get clips. This is gonna be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I just love.
Keep an eye out on our YouTube for Tears of the Kingdom clips.
Yes. Yeah, we're on TikTok. I'll probably make a clip just out of my explanation. I'll use the gameplay. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about on TikTok if you want to see that. But yeah, so I really love that this game's going to be so clippable. It's going to take over the internet. And
what's your current first impression rating of the game?
Ooh. First impression rating 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. And this is why as first thing, I will never give anything 10 out. Even though I love Elden Ring, I wasn't just going to be favorite game of all time above God of War without beating the game. I think there are games out there, after you beat them, they've proven their respect.
Their worth.
They've proven their worth so much. God of War, Elden Ring, Witcher 3, games that you just love, that you're you can't just be I played 4 hours of this game better than every other game I've ever played, 11 out of 10. So, but my impressions are high. 9 out of 10, if this game keeps going, it would be a 9 or 9.5 for me if it keeps going at this rate. It can't reach a 10 just because I am a combat dude, and I very much value good combat. And not saying Elden Ring has the most amazing combat. It's more so about build variety and the bosses themselves and stuff. But the combat in this game is just inherently a little simple, and that does hold it back. I think if there was just something that added almost combo variety or this or that, it would. But I don't know. You know what? With the bosses and everything, I could eat my fucking words. I could be stuffing my.
That's why I'm saying first impressions of the beginning of the game.
Yes.
You know.
That's what I meant. The beginning is a 10 out of 10 beginning. It is an amazing beginning. God of War was 10 out of 10. This is 10 out of 10. Like Elden Ring was like
I would also give this
out of 10.
beginning a 10 out of 10 because I don't mean like what are your impressions if the game keeps going like this of the whole game. I'm talking about of the amount that you've played. How would you rate that part of the game? You know, and I would also give the beginning a 10 out of 10. It throws you right into it. I love how they introduce the mechanics to you. I love the initial story. I loved the first area a lot better than I liked the first area of Breath of the Wild, and I just think the beginning of the game is definitely a 10 out of 10, and if it keeps going like this game's just going to be a 10 out of 10 for me.
That hits, especially with
my Tears of the Kingdom. Let me try and get this a little closer.
Look at it, people.
Because last time I got the just the thing, but here's like. With
man, it's so sick looking, guys.
With the little ooh. Yeah, so, it looks amazing.
My question for you is, what are you looking for most out of everything? Whether it's like specific gameplay things, or is it story, or the exploration, or it could be literally anything big, broad, or small. Like, what are you most looking forward to in this game?
The exploration.
Okay.
You know me. I like to explore, and I like that exploration to be rewarded pretty often. And the fact that I have already been rewarded with like, oh, you looked everywhere on this like initial tutorial island. Like you've probably found every single Korok, and you've also found multiple different hidden passageways that also have like chests or other Koroks or something for you to find and to reward you for your exploration. And I just love the game design. I love the architecture and the vibe of Tears of the Kingdom, and I love the way that the game looks. And so finding more of that and more like uniqueness, like, you know, being on like, I mean, it's as silly as it sounds, like the backside of a waterfall or something like that, and it being beautiful. I want more of that exploration, and I know that in like when I'm on the main, like there's gonna be other sky islands that I will be able to explore and find new things, and in just the like Hyrule in general, I think there's going to be so much more, and it's clear that they put more things to find in the game. They made it, like I said, they made it a lot more dense than they made Breath of the Wild, and I really am looking forward to that exploration and finding all the little trinkets and stuff like that, and like things that, you know, maybe someone else, there's already been stuff that like me and him play games pretty differently, and like there's already been things that like I found them like, oh my god, babe, did you find this? And you were like, what? Where did you get that? And it's because I like, you know, I start on one end of the map and go like this, and I like sift through everything because I just love finding those like surprises. Yeah, 100%. And I want more of it.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think I've definitely valued that stuff a lot more with like Elden Ring. Really, like I've talked to her in the past. Like Elden Ring has really did that for me, and like really like made me. It's now a new thing I look for in open world games is that sense of exploration there, because if it's not, why is it an open world? So
yes,
that is basically a new like requirement for current modern open worlds because of this game, because of Elden Ring. For me, I would say the thing I'm looking forward to most, honestly, is the story. Because it's super interesting to me. I'm loving like the spirit goat man who's like so sick, and like learning about like the power, and then learning like, oh, like what is like the fact that like there's this Ouroboros everywhere, which means like it's supposed to represent a cycle, and they're like playing right into that, like all these different things, and of course that'll lead into like crazy bosses and cool moments, but like that main story,
the lore,
is really interesting to me. And I probably honestly at some point this weekend, because I'm going out to like my aunt's house this weekend, I'll probably watch like a video on the whole timeline, like that timeline video. I'll probably watch that whole timeline video just so like, because it was cool that like, because I watched the first half of that video, I knew about the Skyward Sword stuff. So when they started like talking more so about like the past, I was like, I'm picking things out. So I would say that's something that I want you guys to know is maybe if you don't know,
if you don't play a lot of the Zelda games, and if you don't know like the lore and stuff like that, maybe go just like the general. If you want to, you don't have to.
Yes.
But for us, we do enjoy picking those things out, being like, oh, I know what they're referencing. Oh my god, and like I know the importance.
Because this game's definitely enjoyable and really cool, and the story's cool without needing to watch.
Yeah,
a
you don't
40-minute
need
video.
to. You don't need to go watch the 40. Like we just we did watch like because I mean Breath of the Wild was back in like 2017.
Yeah.
And so we did watch a Breath of the Wild recap before we played this game, like to get hyped for it because we were like we kind of forget everything that happened in Breath of the Wild. And I think if you are someone who enjoys a story and you like to know the long-form story, I would suggest, finding one of those timeline videos that goes over the entire Legends of Zelda timeline. Just us getting into it, I'm like, I need to go back and play all of those Legend of Zelda games that I haven't played yet. Like, I'm gonna go back and play the remake of Skyward Sword, And of just, like, all of them, because I'm like, our introduction into the Legend of Zelda was through the Phantom Hourglass, and that was horrible. And so I'm like, I want to go back and go play those games that everyone loves, and because I feel like we got robbed
100%.
of that. Just because of the year we were born, and then like how old we are when Phantom Hourglass came out, and that being kind of like our introduction. That was our introduction into the Legend of Zelda series, and so no, this game makes me want to go back.
Yeah, and
play,
agree.
like, not only learn the lore, but I want to play the games. Like, I want to experience it, so then that way I just know. And like I have that more nostalgic
Here's
feeling.
the thing. Are we really, though? Because
I'll eventually do it.
we're going to have to wait for one of those years. You guys know
this year's too jam-packed.
One of those years where it's like,
it's a little rough.
There's like 2 good games and they're only good. We're going to have to wait for one of those years where it's like more of a find games you haven't played, get your back catalog going years. Because this year, between this, Diablo, Jedi Survivor, Street Fighter 6,
Pikmin 4.
Pikmin 4, Final Fantasy 16, Armored Core, and then, whether it's good or not, Starfield. Wow.
I'm gonna play
it. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big wow year.
Is there any moments or last things or anything you want to talk about this before we move on?
I think I've said pretty much everything, because there's only so much that we can say because we've only played the first 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I would just say, if you haven't, or if you're wondering if you should get the game, get the game.
Yes.
It's good. It's great. It's grand. If you don't have a Switch, get a Switch OLED and play it. And that's all I gotta say. And
I would say, go follow us on Twitter. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, that would be mucho apreciado.
At girlboygamesyt.
You could be probably the first follower on Twitter. We got like
maybe
0.
Maybe 0.
Maybe no. We got like 2 or 3 from our personal accounts.
I was gonna be like, I think melthemaneater is following girlboygames, and beardedpanda is following girlboygames.
Yeah, and so while you're on Twitter, follow girlboygames.
We post funny stuff sometimes.
You can probably find us too.
Yes.
And so
let's move on though to the next.
Here's what I want to say. I want to say something. You're over here.
Let me tell you something.
I have a segue. You're trying to destroy my segue, right? My segue was talking about Zelda. There's a game I really been wanting to play. It's called Tunic, and I'm gonna wait to play Tunic because it's so inspired by Zelda. Until I get an Asus ROG Ally, which is our next topic.
There we go.
Okay, the Asus ROG Ally. It just dropped. They were showing this shit off. And you know what happened?
It's not out yet. It's out for pre-order.
Oh, yeah, it's out for pre-order.
It didn't drop in the pre-order.
It comes out in literally almost exactly a month and 1 day.
I think it comes out June 12th.
June 12th or June 13th.
It's
one of those days. It comes out. Guys. This could have flopped so bad because
and it didn't.
With new technology, a lot of times the established person, the leader, they're the people.
AKA the Steam Deck.
The Steam Deck, right? And the Switch, right?
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, the Switch is a handheld.
It's a different experience.
It's a different experience.
But yeah, we'll say the Steam Deck, right? The Steam Deck. This console for our type of gaming,
Woo.
even though you fell in love with the Steam Deck, you're still in love with the Steam Deck. 10 out of 10
oh god,
console.
I love the Steam Deck.
This console's probably going to be better than the Steam Deck for us as our type of gaming, because it comes out. They're like, yeah, it's going to have Game Pass.
That's the biggest thing.
Game Pass.
Game Pass.
It's going to have Epic Game Store, Steam, Windows 11 on it.
Yeah, already installed.
Already
and everything
installed.
and
You don't
set
have
up.
to like do the whole
And that's
shebang.
the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. Before we even get into the price, the specs, the whatever, like, I do not know how like hard I need to push or like tell you it has Game Pass. If you, and I feel bad. I feel if you like Xbox games.
Yeah.
And, you know, Steam game, I think the Steam might be on. I do not want to confirm whether or not Steam is on the Asus ROG. Like, the Steam, it is?
Yeah, no, Steam, Game
Pass,
Pass,
like an integrated,
Epic Game Store.
but is it an integrated app?
Not in the way that I think I don't know if they have the mode like Steam Deck has, but it's on there and you can play your games and everything.
Okay.
I think this is what they do. There is a Asus ROG Ally app itself library, and you go. It's kind of like how on computer you can, instead of going to each game library, you could go to, like, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna go to my GeForce application, and it shows all the games installed onto your system from all the marketplaces. It has the same thing where it shows the games you have installed from Game Pass, it shows the games you have installed from Epic Game Store, it shows the games you have installed from Steam.
That's the biggest thing is that, like, I cracked my Steam Deck to be able to play cloud gaming,
Yes.
but I did not install Windows 11. I just have normal, like, I have cloud gaming. That's basically, I made it like an app on my, like, Steam Deck library. That I click on it and it takes me to the cloud gaming like browser. I'm already signed in and I can play and it works great and the controls work. But still, it only works as good as cloud gaming works, which sometimes works great for some games and sometimes runs doo-doo for other games. Fortnite surprisingly runs really well.
You got 100 billion servers for Fortnite, so it works well.
Yeah, but
everything
for whatever
else,
reason, Disney Dreamlight Valley was running like actual dog
they
shit.
got actually one server dedicated. They have one whatever dedicated to the Dreamlight.
And so the fact that this thing has Xbox Game Pass and Epic Game Store, like,
I know Fortnite.
That's
straight on it.
Everything Fortnite, no.
Everything Fortnite.
Rocket League, no. But I just.
And the price, guys. So that's what we probably should get to, because
I thought this thing was going to be like $1,000.
Yes, it was like, for me, I was like 900 or 1,000.
Because they're talking about that it's got like higher spec than the Steam Deck and
Deck,
all this different
better
stuff. And I'm
screen, better refresh rate.
Yes, and I'm like, how in the world is this thing going to like be a reasonable price? And it's because I don't know. But I like they were able, the cheaper one is $600.
Yeah.
Well, or it's $599. So $600. The more expensive one is only $700. It's $100 more. And after we looked at the specs, you better get the $700 one.
Don't be that dude. Don't be that dude who gets the cheaper one. I'm gonna save $100 when I'm already spending $600.
Like, the spec difference, like, we're talking
teraflops.
We're talking teraflops.
We're talking flapjacks here.
We're talking flapjacks. We're talking, it goes from like, I think it's like 2.3 or something teraflops.
I got you with
to
the stats.
8.6 teraflops.
I got you with the. I didn't even know what teraflops do. I don't know what these flapjacks are flapping inside of here doing.
But they're flopping.
The CPU, we got the cheaper one, 6 cores. You got 8 cores. The cheaper one has 12 threads. This one has 16 threads. The cache total is 24 on the better one, 22 on the weaker one, and it's 5.1 gigahertz for the more expensive one, 4.9 for the cheaper one, and then the more expensive one has 8.6 teraflops, and the cheaper one's 2.8. I have no idea how that even like
what scale that
equates.
Is.
Like,
all I remember is when like the Xbox Series X and the PS5 were coming out, and then there was a Switch, and everyone was like, the Switch doesn't even have a crumb of teraflop, but then they were like, PS5 has 500 million PS5 teraflops. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but that's got to be bad because the Switch doesn't even have one.
No,
like,
yeah. I remember we looked at teraflops with, I think, her brother Justice, and we were just like,
we're just laughing.
Switch, 0 pancake flops in here. Xbox, PlayStation, very floppy.
Very
very floppy
this is the most
consoles.
floppy thing ever. I wonder how many teraflops are on a Steam Deck.
At least 17 flops. But also the storage is twice as high. It's SSD storage.
It's like what, 250 something?
256 to 512.
Yeah, and I goddamn, like,
guys,
my one thing, and they both have the same amount of battery. It's like 40 watt something battery. I don't remember. But I think the one thing I am worried about, though, and everyone's like, oh, well, the battery life, it should be fine. And I'm like, okay, like, I still don't know what they're comparing the battery life to, because it has the same battery, basically, as the Steam Deck, but this is a more powerful console.
No, I looked at, so I watched a review on it, and this dude was saying, like, okay, maxed out mode, you get, like, 1 hour max. Like, I think it was less. I think it was, like, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Then, like, it gets better and better. So, like, if you're playing an indie on, like, 720, 30, you can get, like, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right? So that's good.
Which is about, like, what you get on the Steam Deck, but everyone's talking about, like, oh, like, you...
Horizon, God of War.
You do not get that high power that they're giving you in the Asus ROG without taking a hit on battery life. And so you can have the Steam Deck running as high as it can and the Asus ROG running as high as it can, and the Steam Deck is not as powerful, but it will last longer. And, like, but I kind of digress about that. That's just kind of a, like... Yeah, it does suck. It's like, oh my god, it's gonna die in, like, however long. But, like, you know, if you have a Steam Deck, compared to the Steam Deck, compared to this, you always are gonna want a portable battery.
Guys,
like, it doesn't matter which one you have.
You take out your Switch, turn on Zelda. You use the glue. You because they have the new, instead of the Sheikah Slate, it's called, like, the Pura tablet, right?
Pura
and it
pad.
looks just like this, right? So you turn that thing on, right? You go into the menu, now you can use it in real life. You grab a battery, you glue it to the back of the fucking Asus ROG, it goes longer. Honestly, if we get this thing,
We will.
which we probably will, I'm just going to, like, get Velcro, put it to the back of the console,
And just tape a portable battery.
and then just get, like, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be like $100, but get, like, a battery that basically doubles the space, has a fast transfer rate, and just Velcro it to the back.
Yeah.
And just double the battery life. For
No,
it. And it's going to make it heavier. You see this? You see this? I'm seeing these people. Oh, here. Their arms are like this. They're like, the Steam Deck's so heavy. Oh my god, it feels like I'm carrying a fridge.
A fridge?
Bro. Stop. I get it. When you're carrying this thing for, like,
Everyone that says
2-3
the Steam
hours?
Deck is super heavy, I'm like, stop.
Yes, it's heavier than a Switch. Guess what? It's way more powerful than a Switch. You're getting basically
a
fucking PC
handheld
in your hands, guys. Are you kidding me? And it's cool. The Asus is lighter.
It is.
And that's cool, and you should aim for a lighter console. But don't come at me with, it's too heavy. It's so freaking heavy. Bro, I'm playing this game 1080p 120 frames. Like, come on.
Yeah.
On my
handheld. Yeah. It's not that, like, I and I will never say anything about, like, how much weight or whatever you should be able to lift, but I'm, like, seeing, you know, in comparison to me, like, full grown, like, and again, these are, like,
Are you gonna roast someone?
I'm not roasting anyone in specific. I'm not roasting anyone.
Apparently these people shit on their head while standing.
No, I just be like, I see, like, full grown-ass men, like, when they're reviewing these things, being like, man, you know, it's kind of heavy, and I'm like holding it, like, enjoying the hell out of it. I'm like, what? How light is it supposed to be? I'm afraid I'd, like, chuck it.
I know some people are, like, you know, they're reviewers, so they get into this mode of being, like, extra
super critical, yeah.
But I think sometimes pull it back to be, like, the average consumer. I know you have to be extra critical for the consumer, so they don't, like, you don't misrepresent the product, but maybe you reel it back a little bit.
No, because I watched reviews on it, and like before I got it, and I was like, oh shit, like
it's gonna be heavy as fuck.
Everyone's like, oh, this is like really heavy. I'm like, oh shit, I bought a brick. Like, bro, I bought a brick.
I carry around a 35-pound kettlebell. This thing's heavier.
Yeah, and so I was like worried because I was like, oh my god, everyone's saying this thing's super heavy, and then I was like, no shit, it's a little bit more heavy. And so the Asus ROG is a little bit lighter, so if that's what you care about, then, then it is lighter. But, I can understand the only thing, like, someone did comment on one of my videos that they did have wrist problems.
That's understandable. And I was like,
that's understandable. I also have kind of weak wrists, and so, like, I can understand if that's an issue for you, if you got wrist issues,
literally any, like, actual health issue, You're golden. We're not
roasting you.
We're not roasting you.
But I'm talking about the people that like they have no wrist problems or whatever. Like they're just holding it and are like, it's a little heavier. It doesn't really bother me, but I'm gonna complain about it.
No, 100%. It's just nitpicking. And so, the console's super impressive for the price. The highest end Steam Deck, it's like $50 more, but it's you don't have touchpads and you don't have the buttons on the back. There are things that are different. I'm
going to say it right now, personally, don't give a shit about the touchpads.
And see, like, that's the thing, is that for some people, it won't matter. And for me, I'm so down for the Asus ROG. I am like...
I love the look.
I'm going to save up some money. We're going to get it. I love the look. I was like, when I saw your Steam Deck, I was like, why don't you put a skin on it? I honestly like the white of the Asus ROG a lot. Me too. And so I'm like, probably won't put a skin on it.
My only thing, and we've talked about this, and I think this might change if we have it in our hands. We've never touched one. We don't know how it feels, but just from the look and from the review videos,
the ergonomics,
the ergonomics look fine. At least to me, it was the D-pad looks cheap.
Oh yeah, the D-pad.
It's like really shiny.
That's on some 360 D-pad.
It looked kind of cheap and like very old school, and I was like. Yeah, it's the only thing. It's not going to determine. That's me being nitpicky.
Yeah.
But I was like, it looks kind of like, and again, no one has said this. Yeah. It's my personal, what I have seen just from the reviews. I've never held one. It could feel great. But it looks like it's got that sheen to it that when you touch it, it's going to leave like your fingerprints on it. Whereas like on something like this, it's like it's got a matte finish,
nice matte,
and so you won't have those fingerprints. And so I also did like on the Steam Deck, the one thing that I will say, and again, this has to go with like I've never held Asus ROG, so I don't know, but I do like that on the Steam Deck you do have you have 4 paddles in the back. You've got 2 on each side. In the Asus ROG, it looks like you only got 1 on each side.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of round.
Yeah.
Like they're not like in. It doesn't mean, that don't need to be flat or anything. I was just like, that just seems kind of funky. But it could feel great, I'm just saying, I'm just noticing that difference.
Yeah.
I do like that the triggers, though, and those paddles, they're not carbon fiber. Yeah. But they have a carbon fiber kind of look to them, like a pattern. And I wish that they would have done that for, like, the D-pad. Because the D-pad's the only thing that I looked at, and I was like, this is a little disappointing.
And, and back to, I guess, our version of nitpicking, the D-pad... And for me, it's the color of the buttons. I just think it doesn't look visually.
Yeah.
It looks so nice, like the white, and I like the LED. It's just the only place that has LEDs is around the thumbsticks. Perfect placement. I think that's super smart. You get to look at it while it isn't like on the back or whatever. It's like somewhere where you're actually looking at it, but it's not distracting. The design of the console all around really cool. I just wish the D-pad or the button colors were different.
Yeah.
And that's just such a
That's just us being nitpicky.
I could really, when I have it in my hands.
You're not gonna care.
I'm not gonna care.
No, I got the Steam Deck this last January.
Yeah.
And do not regret the purchase. I absolutely love it. Like it's one of those things that the biggest thing for me, I would not even feel that inclined to buy the Asus ROG Ally if it didn't have Game Pass, but it does.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I play so many indie games. I have Game Pass. I play so many indie games. I play Disney Dreamlight Valley. I play, there's so many games I play on Game Pass, and having that option to have the Game Pass games wherever I want and not have it be kind of janky cloud gaming, having them downloaded onto my thing, like, and it being easy. I don't have to download Windows 11 and do all this different stuff and make kind of complicated for someone when you just want to buy something and have it work.
Yes.
And
yes.
that is the biggest thing that sells this handheld for me.
Yes, 100%, because for me, how I will, like, when we eventually get it, how I'm going to use it is I'm going to play indies on it, because I honestly don't like playing indies on my TV. When I sit down, I want to play AAA experience, I want to play Survivor, I want to play Wild Hearts, I want to play whatever, right? So I'm going to use it to play indies, like, on Game Pass, which is so sick, because that saves me a lot of money. And I'm going to play older games, whether it's emulated, which will be awesome for me to play emulated games, but also whether they're just older games. Like, I want to replay the Space Marines game before Space Marines 2 comes out, and that will be the perfect way to just, like, I can just jump onto it and play Space Marines.
Yeah, also,
and just older, like PS3 games, like The Force Unleashed,
You know what's gonna be on, and I'm sure it's on Steam, but you know what is going to be on Game Pass?
What?
Diablo 4.
See?
I don't know, it's not day one, but it is forecasted. Eventually it will be on Game Pass.
Because it will be owned by Xbox, but that's only if the deal goes through, so we'll see about that. But it will, even if it's a year from now, they'll be doing expansions, they'll be doing DLCs, and we'll be playing it, so being able just to...
Yeah. No, there's going to be a lot, like,
that'll
Xbox
probably be a
is
you
acquiring... Thing. Yes, it would definitely
because
will
I'll be playing, like, here, instead of bringing your whole PS5, you'll just bring, like, the Asus.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be moved to the Pullman, actually. Forehead.
That's a forehead moment right there.
Forehead moment.
But
the opposite of the Alex Hormozy moment.
Yes, there's the Alex Hormozy moment, and there's the forehead moment. But I think all of as much as, Xbox been taking a big old dookie with Redfall, and it's making us a little worried about what they're coming out with, like with Starfield, and, Xbox is having it really rough right now, but I have hope for Xbox, and I have hope especially in the amount, like, they've got, like, their Xbox ID or whatever program it's called, where they're helping all of these indie developers make these games and make them great, and they're all a bunch of diverse indie developers, and they're letting them, put their game wherever they want, but it's also going to be on Game Pass. And I think that we're going to start seeing that, like, more and more, like, wow, like, more and more indies are coming out, and it's because Xbox is helping them, and these are all on Game Pass. And, like, even the other day, you were showing me, like, wasn't it Celeste? Is Celeste on Game Pass?
Yeah, Celeste is on Game Pass. Tunic's on Game Pass.
And so, like, these games that I really wanted to play, and I was like, I need to buy these eventually.
Chained Echoes.
Now they're on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start seeing that more and more with these, like, Xbox. Obviously, they've always kind of been about the variety, but now I think that variety in the next year or so is really going to start showing, and I think that that's a really big deal. And so having a handheld that has that variety and all those indies on it, and just that, like, more interesting, like, super different gaming experiences game by game, I think for me, it's a personal thing, for me, is a big deal, and I'm really excited about it.
So at some point, who knows if we get it day one or not. We might get it day one, but there's a chance we don't. Whatever, we will get it at some point, and we'll let you guys know how it is. If you want a review on that, we'll eventually give you a review on that. So eventually look out for that. If you are, there's people out there, right, who will complain about the price. They'll be like, $700 for this console. This is so much, right? And they'll be like, I could get a PS5. I could get an Xbox Series X. Guess what? You're right. You could get a PS5 or a Series X or put that towards a PC or something like that. Here's the thing. You are getting straight up a PC experience. You're getting the ability to play Horizon 1080p 60 frames, even if it is only
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. You straight up AAA, AA, and indie games all on this thing. Significantly more powerful than this. You're getting so much power in such a small package. That's why it costs so much. So I want people, before they go, this costs so much, I can get a PS5. Well, yeah, a PS5 should be more powerful, or it should cost less, because they're allowing for the technology needed. It has more room, it has more space. It doesn't need to have a screen. It doesn't need to have a controller built in.
People need to stop comparing any PC handheld to the Switch.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people are like, it's not a Switch price. It's not $300, $400. And I'm like, no, it's not. and we've all been complaining about how the Switch is not powerful enough.
Because guess what's going to happen, guys? You want the 1080p 60 frames Switch. You want it to be able to go docked 4K.
It's going to be bigger.
You're going to get your Switch, and not only is it going to be bigger and heavier, but this Switch is probably going to cost $400, $500, $600.
Yeah, it's going to start
range.
being that PS5 price,
and,
you know?
And that's the thing is, I think it's a tricky situation for Nintendo, because I think Nintendo doesn't want to be the same price as the PS5 and the Xbox.
Well, they want that, like, family affordability. They're so catered to, like, families.
I don't think they want the direct comparison, because when you see a Switch, it's a different type of console. Like you just said, family affordability. You can buy, like, multiple
they
for the family.
It's completely different games. Like,
different
it's
games.
not...
And you can't make a direct comparison price-wise. You're like, oh, this thing's like $200 cheaper. It's a different thing, right? You'd have to compare, like, a Series S to a Switch, right? Versus it being the same price, and now there's a direct comparison, and families are less apt to buy multiple of them the more expensive it gets.
Yes.
I think they will try to hit $400 for, like, the next...
Yeah. They're going to try and find a way to make it a little bit better, but also keep it a price that is reasonable for parents to buy for their children, you know?
Yeah.
Because as much as we want to complain as adults, that's their target audience.
Yes.
We are not their target audience. Yes, they want it to cater to us. There are things that they do cater to us. Tears of the Kingdom is a game for everybody.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Nintendo has always, their target audience been families and kids. And when we were kids, that was a great experience. Especially, we were such a big Nintendo.
For you.
We were such a big Nintendo household.
Yeah.
I have 6 siblings.
Yeah.
Like, you know what my family's not gonna do? Or, like, obviously, some of us are older, but there's still, like, 3 or 4 younger ones now. My mom does not have the money to buy each of them
a PS5.
A PS5,
like,
you know?
Guys, think about this perspective. A PS5, a family's more likely to just buy 1, maybe 2, if a lot of people game in the house.
Yes.
Maybe 2, right?
Usually just 1.
So that's $500 to $1,000, not including tax, right? Versus a Switch, you get the family 1. If there's like 4 people, you get 1 normal Switch,
or the Switch Lite.
2, I'm getting there. 1 or 2 normal Switches, and then the Switch Lite's $200.
Yeah.
So you get 2 normal Switches, which is $300 each, right?
Yeah.
And then you get 2 Switch Lites, so 4 Switches total. You got 4 consoles that is now each person can play all at the same time for the same price that 2 consoles that people have to take turns would be playing.
Of course. And that's my biggest, that's the biggest thing is people, like, to me, I think the $600 to $7 price range for the Asus ROG Ally, I think is perfect. That is below what I thought it was going to be. Like we said, I thought this was going to be like $1,000 or more because of how powerful it was. And I think that that's great. And, you know, it is, like, just from, like, an engineering standpoint, costs more. It costs way more to make something powerful and small. Like, when you take that, like, if you want your Asus ROG to run, like, a PS5 or to run, like, something like that, the PS5 is huge.
Yes.
It's a gigantic, like, so is the Xbox Series X.
PC.
Or PC. A PC is huge. And the reason why they're that big and also have, like, and, you know, they're, like, especially PC can range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. To
$3,000
to $3,000.
$4,000.
You know, it keeps going. But even a PC, like, that stuff's pretty condensed. So you're taking something that's already hard to make powerful, and hard to make cheap, and making it even smaller.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of engineering hours. Like, they have to pay people to commit so many hours of their life. Like, and then it's their job, it's fine, but they still have to pay the people to figure out how to make it smaller, make it work, make it not overheat, and, you know, make it, like, you know, sellable. And then also find a way to be like, how do we profit off of this?
Yeah.
You know, because then now we have to manufacture all the parts. We have to find someone who's going to make this tiny little, like, processor and stuff like that, you know?
And make it to scale.
And make it to scale, and it's just so many things that go into it. and we need to stop comparing it to the Switch, which is not powerful. And like, we've literally have so many things we complain about the Switch, but guess what? That's why the Switch is $300 and not $700.
Yeah, you can't complain about the Switch's power, then in the same hand be like, oh yeah,
why isn't it the same price as the Switch?
Yeah, like, oh, this thing that is like 4 times more powerful, or not 4, but let's say 3 times more powerful than the Switch. Why isn't that the same price as the Switch? Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
it's
so.
I think the price is perfect. I think the Asus ROG Ally is going to beat out the Steam Deck, and I feel like if it delivers on what it says, I think it's going to outsell the Steam Deck.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Steam Deck has the first advantage, the first person advantage, where like they're in the market first. They now have that name where it's like the portable handheld PC whole idea that the Switch made, like this thing of like, let's make a console that's gonna have like AAA games on it instead of like a side thing like a DS or a PSP, right? The idea of like a main console handheld, the Steam Deck was the first one to make a PC like that. They were the first on market, and while I will say it's so cool, because most of the time you get the first one's usually sucks, then the competitor sucks, and then maybe you get a good one. The first one was great. The competitor is now great.
Yeah.
It's an awesome thing, but you see every single article is making sure to compare it very closely to the Steam Deck because everybody knows the Steam Deck.
Yes.
And so I don't know if it's going to like destroy the Steam Deck. I think it's just going to be like one of those things.
I think it's going to be damn close.
When it's just going to be like, it's selling well. Steam Deck's selling well. It's selling well. Both these things are just selling well.
Yeah, and like we said, you know, there are a lot of people that are like, okay, so when are we getting the next Steam Deck? When are we getting the next Steam Deck Pro, like Steam Deck 2, whatever you want to call it? Because that was their first iteration. Like, Steam Deck is on its first iteration.
Yeah.
So we have no idea how they're going to improve because, yeah, they were the first to do it, the first to pioneer it. And that comes at a cost. Like, that comes at, like, you have, like, what you were saying, that kind of legacy, like, look what you did, and we did it first. But you also have we did it first.
Yeah.
No one else could make the mistakes before we could make the mistakes, you know?
You know, who knows if we even get another Steam Deck. Everyone's like, Steam Deck 2. And I think that's what's great about the Asus ROG is there's a lot of other, like, PC handheld things that are, like, super fucking expensive.
Yeah.
This is the first, like, second reasonable priced, like, handheld.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Steam Deck, it's only been a year. Everyone's asking for Steam Deck 2. It's like, guys, this console's been out for 1 year.
I know.
You're gonna have to buy literally the Asus ROG if you want something
new,
more powerful and new. And maybe you're right. Maybe that will beat out the Steam Deck. And I don't know if there will be a Steam Deck 2. Not because it won't sell well. It's going to sell well. It's doing amazing. People love this thing. The reason why there might be not be another one is because Steam has made a little almost console before. It was called like I forget what it's called, the Steam something. And that one didn't sell well, but they never made a second one of that. They made controllers. That didn't do very well. But the things they did do well, the games. Steam used to make games. Half-Life. Everyone still talks about Half-Life. Half-Life, used to be considered one of the greatest games ever, one of the greatest games of all time, greatest stories. Everyone begging for Half-Life 3, and everyone making jokes. Oh, when Half-Life 3 comes out, it doesn't matter how good it is, people are going to be disappointed because the hype's too high.
Yeah.
Guess what? The hype, it went so high, right? And then it finally... Yeah, sorry, my dog's like freaking out. Just have her go upstairs. So sorry guys, I'm like blanking a little bit. This is my doggy, but it took so long. Now people don't even care about getting a third one anymore. But that's the thing, is that Half-Life, Team Fortress 2, Portal, these games that people love, that Steam innovated on and made, and people love these games, they never made more of these games. And we always ask why. But sometimes Steam just, or like even like the VR headset they just made, and people love it. But who knows if we get another one? That we could, but I just am not confident that Steam likes to innovate on things, set a standard, and then go away. Like,
yeah,
and
but
let the marketplace like create
I kind
a
of feel
standard.
like Steam was going through there, and this is just me speculating.
Okay.
I feel like Steam, like a lot of companies, go through like trying to find what works for them, what's gonna hit, you know. And with a lot of these things, like with the game, I think the games are different. The games, like that's a whole different development process than like a piece of technology, you know? And so I feel like especially with their tech, with their consoles, their whatever, I feel like maybe they're just trying to find like, what do we make that sells and how well does it sell? And that's why I feel like we're not going to see another Steam VR thing. Like like how many people have heard of that? How many people have how many people even know like at least they have a Steam library on their PC that Steam made a console before.
A lot of people do, actually.
I didn't.
Like, but you're not as deep into like the PC, like the PC fan base.
But
you're more of a console gamer, right?
No, I know, but what I'm saying, people in general. I'm not talking about like, yes, I know the hardcore gamers are all gonna know probably, but I'm saying the general public.
Yeah.
They're trying to break through to the general public of just gamers.
That's what I was trying to get at, was that when you're saying how many people who have Steam. I think most people if you're using Steam, you're more of a hardcore gamer because you're playing on PC. Casual gamers more so play on console, right? Not that there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of hardcore gamers on console. I'm just saying the chance that you're a casual and you play on PC, pretty low. And so you probably know about that. But yeah, they're not breaking into the mainstream like you're talking about, like something like the Oculus Quest.
Yeah.
Oculus? No, wait. Was it Oculus? MetaQuest? Whatever
the hell it's called.
The MetaQuest 2. Like, that thing
just
broke through. Your family has one.
Yeah.
And played it for about a week before putting it into the cabinet. But, like, people...
I think they were just waiting to find that thing that they're like, we could
consistently
make money off of this, you know? Not like... we make one, we make another, and then we just lose all our money, you know?
Okay.
And so I think there is potential. I don't think it's certain. I think there is potential in the Steam Deck to eventually get another one because now, like, they made something that incentivized other competitors to make one.
Yeah.
You know, that they were like, there's promise in this. You know, and so like I think that shows they are now in a market that I think is going to keep growing, and I think we are going to see more competitors, other than the Asus ROG. You know, I think because I think it's starting to get more popular. I think handheld gaming, like specifically with like, you know, the more like high res higher games like, you know, AA and AAA gaming, handheld is going to start becoming more and more popular. In
a weird way, because these games are becoming so like huge, omega, open world, or like battle passes, constant new updates, all this different stuff, right? The games are just becoming so big and they want so much of your time that it almost feels like people are like, they need a handheld so that they have time because they might be traveling. Yeah. Or you might live in a country like Japan, like Europe, where you're on trains and you're on these things, and like there's so much time taken up just by transportation or by you're traveling and you're in a place that you can't just let me pack up my PS5 and go, right? Yeah. So you're just like, I guess this weekend I just don't get to play, or I guess this week I just don't get to play, right? And so I think like, and games are becoming so long that if you don't play for a week, 2 weeks because of travel or this or that or whatever, that you might be behind in gaming because so many games are coming out like this next month.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, yeah, like you're saying, this is handheld gaming. This is just the beginning. And
I think so.
Like, we'll see who becomes the AAA premium experience handheld, and we'll see what Switch does for their next handheld.
But I think that's all I had to say about the Asus ROG. That I'm really excited for it. Definitely beat my expectations, especially with the price. And I am really looking forward to eventually us getting our hands on one.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, I'd really appreciate it if you guys left a comment on the video and like the video, just for the algorithm. You can literally say, you know, Tears of the Kingdom, hype in the comments. I would rather you guys talk to us. It's actually is really cool. Like
we want to have a conversation.
We had a
with
comment
you guys.
recently where someone was like talking about how they like the setup and our vibe and stuff, and we really appreciated that, and we like commented back with them and stuff. But for the algorithm's sake, give us a like and leave a comment. That would be really appreciated.
Yes.
But do we have time for Duck Story, or do we want to save Duck Story till next podcast?
I think we could do it really quick because we said we were gonna say it anyways. Okay. So here's what happened.
Real quick.
My car is not working very great right now. I was gonna try and take it to the gym to test drive it. It didn't end up really working. I had to go back into my house and just park it in the driveway. But as I was driving around and like 2 houses down from my house, I noticed this duck quacking around in circles and like freaking out, and was like, what the hell? Why is there I see a lot of animals in my neighborhood, never see a duck, so that threw me off. And also it was quacking and walking in circles in the middle of the road. And so I was almost gonna go to the gym. My car was like, nah fam. And so I parked, and then I was like, okay. I felt a feeling in my gut like something is wrong with this duck, and I think I need to go see what's wrong with it.
Okay.
And I walk up, and it's like a female duck, and it's like looking at me, and it came like, you usually get close to ducks and they run away. This thing walked right up to my feet.
Yeah.
And was like, I kind of got on its level, like squat down. It's like quacking like in my face. And like when like making this weird like distress noises, and then there was a storm grate nearby, like a storm drain grate nearby, and I like just was like, oh please God, let me not find a baby duck down there. And lo and behold, I look in the storm drain, which the storm drain had such big holes. There's a poor little baby duck at the bottom of the storm drain. Storm drain was probably about like this deep or something, so it was like not super deep, but deep enough that it wasn't easy to get to it.
The storm drain's holes are big enough so that the baby duck could just fall in, but you couldn't put your hand in.
My hand couldn't fit in, but the baby duck was small enough that I could go right in. And I need to remember to call my neighborhood to tell them to replace the storm drain with one that has those slots that are smaller, so that freaking wildlife can't fall into it.
So anyways, I was driving over, and she calls me. She's like, "Oh yeah, we might take some extra time before heading over to your house because there's a baby duck." And I was like, "What?" Show up. Her and this old dude are trying to
grab. He had like a grabber. It was this older gentleman that lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he has like this grabber that was like kind of long and skinny and like has like one of those pinchy things on the end. And we tried to grab it that way. And I wish he would have let me do it because I don't know. I could tell this guy was.
He was gonna take the L. Sorry. Take the L. He wasn't dedicated enough to save you. He was kind of just like.
And so he tried, but the duck got scared and it ran farther into the storm drain.
Okay, guys, there's a storm drain, right?
And then there's a hole on the side.
There's two things that like sort of water can go through, right? Like two holes. No, there was one hole. That was the one hole. Yeah. So it's just a box, right? And then on this side there is a hole that just goes like down, and it's dark, and it's just like that's where the water goes, right? And it's like slightly sloped, but it's so dark you can't tell if it's like or if it's like a slope, or if it's flat. You can't tell.
And so the duck ran into there, and then I was like, well, shit. Like,
we're depressed.
Now we're depressed. This poor mama duck is just quacking at me the whole time, like, basically asking me to, like, save my duckling, basically. And it's like, look, I saw, like, that duck soul. Like, I think it looked into my soul. Yeah. It was, like, the weirdest, like, maternal experience. And so the old couple goes away. I go into my house. I start crying because we were like, I can't get to it. And like originally I thought you could not take the grate off, the storm drain grate, because that's what the older guy was saying. He was like, he's like, you need like a special tool to
I
open
even
it.
asked, I showed up like, can we just take this off? And then you're like, no, there's like bolts. Which I was suspicious because there was places for bolts, and I remember looking and seeing no bolts, but there was mud on the other spots, and I thought maybe they meant there was bolts where the mud was, so I didn't even check. But you're crying, and I'm like... I was
crying, and he's like, like, we're about to go to his house, and he's like, okay, let's check one more time. Yeah, and I was like, I want to check one more time
my headcanon was, if the duck goes in a dark spot, guess what happens? You're in the darkness. If it can't even walk out, the light's going to be... Like, the light is going to be where it just was. It was pure darkness everything everywhere else. So you're going to go towards the light. So if
and
you
then
can,
we left. So hopefully, I think it was just the fact that there was a bunch of big scary humans around.
Yes.
The duckling got freaked out and it went back into the hole. But then we left, and then we came back, and the duck was back in, like, it was like chirping, like in the same place that it was, and the mama duck was right over.
Yeah.
And then I think this duck and, like, you know, it's just
Okay.
it was so, I think
it was actually some weird stuff. His animals
it was like
love me. Children love me. This duck ready to kill me.
Well, and I think it was like a
if it had
testosterone
fangs,
thing.
it would have killed me.
No, this duck would have murdered you. It was not afraid of him. It
Yes.
was like, and it was an amazing, like, show of, like, this duck was, like, so, like, the maternal instinct. She just wanted to protect her baby.
Yes.
And, like, she, like, when this duck got right up close to me, like, before we came back, and, like, she was, like, you know, like, in my face, but not, like, attacking me or getting defensive or anything. It was, like, trying to, like, talk to me. But with Luke...
when she went, she was like, oh, I need to go back and, like, tape things together to get this.
I taped it because it was long, and I was like, okay, if I get, like, 2 ladles and I tape them together on one end, I fuse them, and I glued them, and then I was like, I can scoop it, so then and put it in a corner so it can't escape like it did last time.
And so, while I was waiting there, this thing was hissing at me the whole time. It was like, and I was doing, like, the weird, like, duck hiss. I was
that's
okay.
the weird, yeah.
But then when she showed up, it kind of backed off. So I was like, okay, like, it obviously doesn't like me, but, like, you know, it's going to back off enough to, like, give us a chance just for a second to quickly get this thing. And so I was using, like, a broom to block the hole so it couldn't run back through the hole, and you were going to try to scoop it. And then this thing, it said, for my baby! And it flew at me, and I was like, I didn't realize, like, I look up, I'm like, holy shit! And then I went like this, and then it hit my arm actually really hard. Like there was, obviously there's no spots or anything, but like it left like a sting on my arm, and then it hit me in the head. And I was like, what the? And for a second, I was literally about to swing on this duck, and I had to, like, mid instinct be like,
don't punch the mama duck.
I'm gonna kill the mom duck and punch it in the head when, like, I'm trying to save its baby. Maybe not the best idea. So then I was like, and I just ran.
Yeah, no, it flew at his head. Like, I've never seen a duck do that before. Maybe like a goose, but I've never seen just a duck do it. And then we got like
gooses are known to attack.
Gooses are known to attack, yeah. I don't know, whatever. Goosies. And so I was like, okay, maybe, like, you were like, I don't know, you were like, okay, maybe we need to shoo away the mama duck somehow.
Yeah.
And so we went, like, we weren't gonna hit it, but we were trying to shoo it. So we got, like, whatever was in front of my house was just a rake, and so we're just gonna, like, kind of, shoo at it. And this mama duck was like, you got a rake? You think I give a fuck?
Yeah, no.
You think wide duck hours?
Imagine a movie. Okay, so when you go like this or something like that towards any animal, they're like, what the fuck? And they're like,
whoa.
I'm gonna go. You even look at a duck, they'll run away from you, right? This one
didn't flinch.
It's like a movie. Like the mom's baby's right here, and someone has a sword at the mom, and the mom's like letting the sword go under, and like, you're not gonna get my child. It was like that level of, you could see the determination. And every time I went like this, like, shoo,
she didn't move.
She was like, no, and I got closer.
She moved closer.
She moved closer than me, and I moved even closer. Like I'm gonna hit you. Like, it was like this close to the duck, and all she did, she went lower, like.
She, like, got the wide, like, she's, like, puffing up her, like going scary mode duck.
And her wings are out, like, oh, I'm about to fly and, like, try and hit you. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to hit this duck. Like,
yeah, no. We're just trying to, like, scare it away to get the baby. And so we walked, like, away for a second, let the mom calm down. And then I was like, okay, let me work my, like, female magic or whatever I need to do to, like, level with this mama duck and be like, hey, yo, woman to woman, like, let me help you.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I walked up and, like, we had a conversation, I was like, she's like, well, you tried to hit me with a rake, and I was like, I know, I'm sorry, but, like, we're just trying to save your thing, and you're just kind of not helping right now.
Yeah.
I think you need to walk away from the situation, and she did. Like, she literally looked at me, I got really close to her, and then she just, like,
I was so scared.
I
was like, this duck's gonna, like, do the same
me.
thing. But it didn't. It was so much more
away.
chill. And then your mom comes, and she's like, what's happening? We explain. And she's like, have you tried opening it? And I was like, this thing probably opens. I see no things. So I just opened it, and then this thing's so muddy. I immediately am getting so mud all over me.
Himself.
open it. The duck freaks out. I'm like, boom, no, you're not
His
going.
reflexes were crazy. This duck immediately started running like around in a circle, and he, like Lucas went,
like, no,
but like didn't hurt it. Like he was able to like perfectly clamp
with the hand cage.
The hand cage, like, but perfectly get it, and then put the grate down. And then, like, the mama duck was behind, like, the bush nearby.
Luckily,
and then, like, thank God.
So she didn't immediately attack me. Then I'm like, oh, and I crushed the duckling in my hand. Like, that would have been horrible.
That would have been horrible.
So, yeah, she's around the bush. And I'm just like, I run over to, like, the dirt. Away from the
grates.
And I put it on the ground.
And then the duck, like, was, like, chirping. And then, like, ran. And, like, oh, thank God that the duck was unharmed.
Yeah.
Because I was so afraid that, like, when you grabbed it, maybe something would have happened. Or, like, or when, like,
that was hella gentle. I was like,
well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I was so worried that something was going to be wrong with this duck, but it was like it ran up to its mama, and the mama was so excited to have the baby duck back.
Yeah.
And they walked away, and it the little ducky was trailing along with his mom, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. It was great. It was great.
And so, yeah, we saved a baby duck and made a mama happy, a single mom happy.
It was also great. This podcast was great. Please subscribe. We really appreciate it. We're trying to grow this community and talk with us.
Yes,
I think
please
eventually,
comment.
Yeah, please comment. I think eventually we will create a Discord, or maybe I'll convert the Bearded Panda Discord to this.
Let us know if you want a Discord server, to start a Discord server, because we'd love to have more conversations with you. But for now, before we make a Discord server, please leave comments, because we will be there talking to you guys, and we want to know what are your thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom? What are your thoughts on the Asus ROG Ally or the Steam Deck? What are your thoughts on ducks? What are your thoughts?
Geese.
Like, also, let us know if we don't, like, tell, like, sometimes we tell personal stories about, like, our experience with more specifically gaming, but, like, let us know if you want more, like, funny stories from just, like, our lives or something like that. Let us know what you want from this podcast. If it's anything that is out of the norm that we would normally talk about, or tell us what we're doing great. Tell us what maybe we need to fix for next time. We will take any and all feedback.
And yeah, bye guys.
Bye guys. See you next time.